Yo, what's going on, Jungle Cats? Gatos here, coming at you with a new video. So the Space-Time set is finally released, and I don't know about y'all, but I've been enjoying it so much. It feels like the meta has been shaken up quite a bit, and with the addition of tools and everything, it just seems like there's so many things to try out, a lot of different decks. We also have events already starting to come out. I know a lot of y'all probably don't have the EX cards yet, or you might even just want to try out some new decks for the PvP event that's starting up. I thought I'd put together some of my favorite decks that don't have EX cards in it, so you can try those out. I think a lot of cards in this new set are really strong, and there's going to be a lot of testing that we need to do with them. I'm going to be having breakdowns of each decks at the start of this video, and then I'll have a couple of the games with the decks at the end of the video if you want to just zone out and have those in the background, or you want to see some gameplay with them. Let's jump on into it. Before we do that though, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also comment down below what cards you've been enjoying the most. There's been so many cards to test out, I haven't even gotten through all of them yet, so let me know what you're enjoying, and hopefully I'll have some deck videos out on them soon. So the first deck we're going to be looking at is something I kind of got destroyed with in a tournament over this weekend, and it's also a deck that has been around, but it's kind of been revitalized right here with Manaphy and Regigigas. Now, if you don't have Regigigas or Manaphy, you can totally replace these with Marshadow, which is very similar to what the previous version of this deck have, but I think these cards fit really well into the deck. Manaphy is one of the best ramp cards in the game, right next to Dialga, but the benefit with Manaphy is that you can start ramping immediately off turn 1. So normally when I like to play this deck, I actually do water and fire energy, but with this version of the deck with Manaphy, I feel like it's a little bit more consistent when you just have water energy in here, and you can still be putting out decent damage with the Druddigon. You're not going to be able to do its attack this way, but if you get the Rocky Helmet on it, you're going to be able to do 40 damage on your opponent as opposed to 20. So I think now that we have the Rocky Helmet, I'm kind of leaning more towards not having the fire energy, just so decks can be a little bit more consistent. Obviously, it kind of depends on what the build of your deck is. So if you don't have Manaphy in here, or if you don't need to hit the water energy or fire energy, depending on what you're playing, I think you can play both of them still, kind of give that option of the attack. But with this version of the deck, I think the ramp from Manaphy is definitely worth it, and sticking to the water energy is going to help you get that ramp a little bit more consistent in the start of the game. I also totally don't mind bringing Manaphy late and losing a point, because you're getting 2 energy and it's just helping you speed up your gameplay a little bit more. All of the cards in this deck are non-EX, so you're only going to lose 1 point for each of them. And the whole point of this deck is to pick away your enemies slowly over time with your Druddigon, Ruskin damage, and your Greninja damage, and then kind of build up to the Regigigas. So if you're in a good position, you can just throw Manaphy in and start ramping a little bit quicker. We also have the new Pokemon tool in this, which is the Rocky Helmet. And this is basically just copying Druddigon's ability. If you get this on Druddigon at the start, your opponent is basically taking 40 damage if they attack your Druddigon, and most of the time they won't attack because of this. I have actually seen people attack me still, and I think it's kind of crazy because they're just doing 40 damage to their own Pokemon. So yeah, that does happen. People still try to attack, but for the most part, I think it kind of helps you build up your Pokemon in the background, and that just really gives you great footing for the rest of the game. You can start to build up your Greninjas and start laying down attacks with them, and start building up your Regigigas and come in with the final blow with him. I did try to run this deck with 2 Regigigas, and I kind of found that the downside of Regigigas is when you draw him immediately. He's not the best Pokemon to start because his retreat cost is 4 and his attack cost is 4. So if they have something that can put down some damage on him before he's able to attack, then you're going to be in a bad position. If you don't know what Regigigas does, he has a 50 base damage, and then any damage on himself, he adds to that. So say he has 100 damage on himself, he's going to do 150 damage. That's kind of a good pair up. I've seen like him against Dialga is pretty good, because Dialga will typically do 100 damage on him, and then you can just one-shot Dialga next turn. If you do need to put Regigigas in the front line, we have the Rocky Helmets, so you can start doing some chip damage at the start, and then we're also running Leaf, so you can potentially get him out and regain your momentum a little bit by getting Manaphy in there, start ramping up a little bit as well. But honestly, you don't really mind to stall out. You're trying to do chip damage with your Greninja and Druddigon, and he can act as a wall and kind of help you build those up as well. So it's not a total loss if you do need to put them up at the start of the game. Then finally, the icing on this cake is definitely Cyrus. Cyrus pairs insanely well with Greninja. You can choose whatever Pokemon you want to come in the front line. If you hit them with Greninja's ability and then pull them in with Cyrus. In the tournament game I was playing, this is how the person was able to beat me. It's honestly a really crazy combo that keeps your opponent on your toes. They have to really watch out for all of their Pokemon on the board because kind of none of them are safe from Cyrus. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this deck. Let's head on to the next one. All right, so the next deck that we're going to be looking at is a Togekiss Cynthia deck. And to me, Togekiss is one of the strongest non-EX Pokemon in the game so far, just because, if you don't know, Cynthia gives Togekiss and Garchomp plus 50 to their attacks. And on top of that, Togekiss does 60 additional damage the second time you attack with Overdrive Smash. And with Cynthia, that's 170 damage, which is a one-shot to just about every Pokemon in the game, which is absolutely insane for 2 energy. Typically when I'm playing this as well, I'll try to do the Cynthia the first attacking turn. So that starting turn attack is also going to be 110. And then every attack after that is going to be 120. And if you need the 170 damage, you can with your second Cynthia. But honestly, if you just get Togekiss in and you're dropping that amount of damage, you're always just in a great position. So for Togekiss being such a strong card, I set this deck up in a way that kind of supports Togekiss and the 2 evolutionary lines you are getting for that. So the first way we're supporting that line is with Dusknoir and the Duskull line. Dusknoir has the ability to provide its health to a Pokemon of your choice. So you can support your Togekiss with this by giving it its health. And this ability comes in super helpful late game in order to make sure your Togekiss stays alive. Togekiss has 140 HP, so it can get one-shotted by some of the top EX Pokemon, but most of the Pokemon in the game aren't going to be able to one-shot it, and then you can heal with Dusknoir. Additionally, if you haven't used Dusknoir, you can lose a point by sacrificing him with his final HP in this ability, but when you do that, it automatically full heals the Pokemon that you're sending the health. So say your Dusknoir has 30 HP and your Togekiss needs a full heal, at 130 HP. If you sacrifice Dusknoir, it's gonna full heal your Togekiss. So you do lose a point. You need to be a little bit cautious about that in case you're already a point or 2 down, but you're gonna get a full heal on your Togekiss. Additionally, we have the Hypno line in this deck, and this can just be a safety net for any of those high-hitting EX Pokemon. It's a 50-50 coin flip, but it can protect you from your Togekiss getting one-shotted. Additionally, in this deck, we're using Pokemon Communication. I think this item is really good with Stage 2 Pokemon. You can hit your line a little bit more consistently. I think this pairs especially well in this deck because you don't necessarily need your Dusknoir or your Hypno right away. They're kind of something you want to hit later in the game, so you don't mind throwing them in order to hit your Togekiss line a little bit quicker. We also have a giant cape in here. Togepi is pretty low HP, so having the cape is good kind of backup to help protect against that low HP. I've been tossing around whether I should have 2 giant capes and 1 Cynthia or vice versa, but I think this is a little bit better. I'm still not 100% sure. I'm playing around with all these decks still, but I think this is slightly stronger. But yeah, I really enjoy this deck. I think Togekiss is an awesome card. So let's head on to the next deck. All right, so the next deck we're going to be looking at is also a Cynthia deck, and this one is a Garchomp deck with Cynthia and also with Porygon-Z. Now, I kind of have been trying out a lot of different cards with Garchomp. I also really like playing Garchomp with Mamoswine, but I thought this was a cool interaction that I found between Porygon and Garchomp. If you don't know what Garchomp does, he has 100 base damage, which can be buffed by Cynthia again by 50 to 150, and also has the ability of Reckless Shearing. With this ability, you can discard a card from your hand and draw the top card on your deck. So this kind of pairs well with Porygon to me because you can check what your top card is. So it's less risky what you're going to be getting and kind of know what you're going to be giving up and where you're going to be getting for that. And you don't have to use the ability if there's not the card that you need there. So I thought it was a cool little interaction. I do think that Porygon-Z is pretty strong as well and can be good late game, especially to throw off that 1 energy that they need. So typically when I'm playing this deck, I try to build out my Garchomp line first, and then in the background start building up my Porygon line into the Porygon-Z as a second. Then I'll try to build up my other Garchomp line as kind of the finisher. if it gets to that stage. That doesn't always happen, but that's kind of the ideal play line. We're also utilizing the communication in this, so you can kind of guide which Pokemon you're drawing. We have one giant cape in here in case you get your Porygon out. Porygon's only 50 HP, so that can be helpful to have. It's also good to have for your Gibble as well, but I think it's more needed on the Porygon just because of the 50 HP. And then we only have one Cynthia in this deck. I think with this deck, you're generally putting out more damage than with the Togekiss deck, so you're typically only going to need one big hit in this to finish off the game, and I reduce it down to one Cynthia. You could potentially drop Giant Ape or another Cynthia, but I find when I just have Porygon out front, I get in a little bit of a risky situation, and there aren't a lot of Pokemon in this deck, so sometimes you don't draw the starting Pokemon that you need, and yeah, I think that's kind of the sacrifice worth making. And then we have one Cyrus in here as well. I generally am pivoting towards using Cyrus over Sabrina. I think Cyrus is a little bit stronger and helps you like finish off the game. So yeah, this deck is fun. I think it's a little bit weaker. I think a big reason why it's weak is because of Porygon-Z. I would like to have a stronger version of this card at some point. 30 damage just isn't really that much. It kind of feels awkward when you hit your Porygon line instead of your Garchomp line. So I think can't really get as much damage out this way with the Porygon-Z. So I'm hoping that they have a better Porygon-Z that comes out in the future that can kind of make this deck stronger. But overall, I have a lot of fun with this deck. I think it's really interesting and fun mechanic, and I love Porygon-Z. Porygon-Z is such a great card and can lead to some really funny moments. But yeah, let's hop into the next deck. All right, so the next deck is a deck that did really well in a tournament over the weekend by Jeff Hoagland and Spraggles. I'll credit the person who played the deck down below. I made a few changes to it just on the build that they were playing, but it's generally the same idea. So this is a Skarmory and Bastiodon deck, and this deck kind of just shreds. So what this does is you have your Bastiodon line, which is a fossil line, and then you have your Skarmories. So what that does is it's going to force you to draw your Skarmory at the start. So you're always going to be starting with the Skarmory. That's great because Skarmory is going to be able to start putting down 50 damage when it has a tool on it, which is crazy to do up front. And then you're going to be able to start building up your Bastiodon line in the background, which is going to be easy because Skarmory only requires one energy. If you don't know what Bastiodon does, he is 80 damage and he has the ability of Guarded Grill, which is what makes him so strong. So whenever your opponent attacks you, you flip a coin, and if you get heads with this, you block 100 damage. So that just basically cancels out most attacks in the game. On top of that, he has 160 HP, so he survives super well. And honestly, once you get him out, you're in such a good position. You really, most of the time, don't have a problem staying alive. You can start building up your second line if you need to, and you're most of the time just going to be in pretty good position. So on top of that, we're using a ton of different tools. We have 2 capes, 2 rocky helmets, and a Lumberry. And the reason you have all these tools is because you want to be able to put something on your Skarmory early. We haven't looked at the Lumberry so far. This removes any special conditions on your Pokemon. This can be good against specific types of decks, specific matchups. Usually you're going to be wanting to hit your giant cape or your rock helmet for your Skarmory, but this is a good backup to have and just increases your chances of drawing a tool up front. On top of that, I changed around the supporter cards in their deck a little bit, and I typically only like to play one Pokeball in my fossil decks because we only have to really hit our other Skarmory. We're not going to be able to pull our Shieldons with the Pokeball. I know it increases odds of having multiple Pokeballs in the deck, but I don't really think it's worth it. I think it's kind of just a dead draw most of the time, so I only play one Pokeball in my fossil decks like this. They also had Sabrina in their deck. They had 2 Sabrinas in their deck. I changed the Sabrina to Cyrus. I think Cyrus is just stronger and can help you finish the game out a little bit quicker. And then I decided to put 2 Giovannis in this deck. Both Skarmory and Bastiodon don't do a ton of damage, so I think having the Giovannis is super helpful. Also, there's a lot of base Pokemon that are 60 HP, so if you hit a Giovanni early with your Skarmory and a tool, you can just one-shot their Pokemon on your first attacking turn, which is absolutely crazy. I think the Giovannis are really good in this deck, and I think they're kind of needed to help get that momentum going with the damage done on the opponent. So yeah, here's kind of my rendition of the deck. I think it's really strong. I think there can be some cards tweaked around here and there, but definitely play around with it and see what works for you. Let's head into the last deck. All right, so the last deck we're going to be looking at is actually shockingly simple, and It's basically just a Magneton Luxray deck. Now, a lot of people have been playing Luxray with Electivire. I kind of think that Luxray is a bit stronger out of the two, and when I was playing around with both of them, I kind of found that Electivire was slowing down this deck a little bit. I think it ramps out a lot quicker when you just have the Luxray and the Magneton line. If you don't know what Luxray does, they're able to attack any Pokemon on the board with 120 damage. They do discard all of their electric energy, but we kind of have a safety net where you can use the new card Volkner, who is able to revive 2 of those discarded electric energies onto your Luxray. So when you have these paired together, your Luxray is going to be able to attack back-to-back turns, which is super powerful. Most of the time, that's going to be able to be enough to win you the game. And then if you draw your other Volkner, you're going to have 3 turns back-to-back. On top of that, we have Dawn as a backup in this deck, and Dawn brings an energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon, so this works really well with Magneton. Additionally, if you do need to use Dawn, you can stall out a turn. The Luxray has a no retreat cost, so you can pull them back and save them for a turn. We don't have any EX Pokemon in this deck, so if one of your Pokemon goes down, you're only going to be losing 1 point. You're obviously going to have to judge if you're in the right situation to pull the Luxray back or not. We additionally have Rotom in this deck, and the reason I have this is because a lot of people are playing tools right now. This can be a good way to just put some damage down in the beginning because the Shinx isn't able to put any damage down. The Shinx just has a hide ability, which is going to protect it from damage and all effects next turn. I do love the art on this card though, it is amazing. And I think that ability is really good. It can help late game, especially if you need to try to stall out for a turn or so. And if you do need to like pull your Luxray back and you have a Shinx, you can potentially defer some damage for a turn or so. And yeah, the only other thing in this deck is the Pokemon communication tool. Like I said, I really like this with stage 2 Pokemons, just help you hit your line a little bit easier. Rotom can be a card that you put in here to hit that line, or you can throw in an extra Magneton that you have. Generally, you only really need 1 Magneton, but I have 2 in here just in case as a backup to increase your odds, and also if you need to swap in a card for Luxray and take the hit. Also, something that's really important to note is when your Pokemon is taken out with electric energy on it, that energy technically goes into the discarded energy. So let's say my Rotom was taken out with an energy on it, I would be able to use my Volkner to recharge that energy on my Luxray. I've kind of noticed a lot of people do not expect that. They'll just see that I have like 1 energy on my Luxray and 1 or 2 of my Pokemon have been taken out with energy. And then I'll be able to kind of sneak in and attack with my Luxray because my Volkner will be able to recharge that discarded energy. So yeah, that's the way I've been able to get a couple of wins with this. And I think it's a little bit cheeky and not everyone really kind of realizes that right off the bat. And that idea kind of pairs pretty well with the Magneton. So say you need to pull your Luxray out, you can just dump your Magneton and all of that energy is discarded on it, and you can immediately recharge that back on your Luxray. So yeah, this deck has felt super strong for me. I think a lot of people don't really realize that with the discard energy and can get super thrown off by it. So yeah, I've been really enjoying this. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy these decks. Let's head into some gameplay now. C-Dot. That name sounds familiar. Going second. Ooh, pretty good starting hand. Hopefully we can get a Rocky helmet out here. Or a Greninja. Or something along those lines. Looks like we're playing against Articuno. Always good to have the Cyrus on standby, though. They might be playing 18 Trainers deck. We'll have to see, though. I don't know if we're super good against this deck. It's nicer to have decks that have some weaker base Pokemon to be able to pick off. All right, we hit the Rocky helmet, which is really good. We'll just start dropping energy down on our Furky. We'll see if this deters them. I mean, They do 40 with their attack, so we'd be trading damage. And Articuno has a bit more HP, so they might attack. Could definitely see them attacking here. Looks like they do have other Pokemon in this deck, which could be good for us. A research is always good. We love that. I don't want to get a Regigiga soon or a Greninja, but unfortunately we get neither. I haven't started with my Manaphy yet. I don't know why, I'm just not starting with it. I wish I could. You're thinking about attacking or not. On the fence. Oh, okay. We're Sabrina-ing. We're just gonna retreat back. They have 2 Sabrinas, that's kind of crazy, but then they've used both of them. Kind of hoping this hits Reggie or... Alright, yeah, we'll take a Reggie. I might put a Rocky Helmet on him. Yeah, I think we will. We'll start filling him up. But hopefully we can get a Greninja soon to get some attack damage going. I'm assuming they're gonna Blizzard here. The Blizzard can kind of work for our Regigigas. Just kind of ramp him up a little bit, ramp up his attack. Probably try to fill up the back one. This could put us in a tough situation if this hits. Hits for 2. We might potentially... I think since we have 2 Frogadier, I'm gonna have to sack one of them. Just because our Regigigas is going to be our main way to win. This just thins our deck out a little bit. Just kind of hoping to hit our Greninja soon. We got like a 50% chance at this point. Yeah, we should be, if we hit a Greninja, we should be okay. They might rotate here, but then we'll just Cyrus. They don't rotate, we just really need to hit a Greninja. There we go. That should just about put it away. I think technically we would have enough damage to take out this Articuno, but we're just not even going to need to do that. It just kind of depends if they have... I guess they wouldn't be able to Sabrina and Giovanni us. I think we should just be good. Unless I'm missing something. We'll just make it quick and simple here. 160 big ones. I wish he had a more impactful hit. It really doesn't feel that strong. Alright, heading to our second game with this deck. Hopefully we can showcase some Porygon Garchomp action. Going against Infernape can always be a bit spooky. We do have a Pokeball and a Research, which is good though. So do they. Or did they play a Research? They played 2 Pokeballs. So I'm expecting some Cyrus shenanigans going on here. I think we probably are going to drop in this Porygon to the communication. Don't necessarily need a second one right now. We hit a Gabbit as well, but we don't have a water energy quite yet. Hopefully we can hit like a Garchomp or something. We'll take a Gible, I suppose. I don't think we need to cape up yet. Well, let's see what's on deck. Porygon-2. We could potentially pull back into our Gible and evolve to Porygon-2. Build up a Porygon-Z. Yeah, they're definitely doing some Cyrus shenanigans. So I think retreating is probably not a good option. Still no water energy. Let's see what we got next on deck. We have a Garchomp on deck. But we kind of need some water energy for that. I think... We'll hold on to the Giant Cape for now. Since we don't have a Porygon, I'll do this here. Yeah, we got Infernape. That's looking spooky. They probably have a Cyrus ready to take out our Garchomp as well. Still no water energy. I don't think we dropped the cape on anything. Do I go for a draw here? Maybe I go for a draw here. Dropping the cape. The Infernape one-shots all of our Pokemon, so I don't know if the cape is going to help us. Kind of hoping that they actually Cyrus our Garchomp here. Just gonna hold the Porygon-Z. Oh. That actually... We're still not hitting water energy, which is crazy. We can improve our draws, but we can't improve our energy. We can also ruin their energy. It depends if they have a Dawn in this deck. We'll see if they there's a good chance they have Dawn. I usually play Dawn in my Infernape decks, just so you can get back-to-back turns. They're thinking though, so maybe they don't have Dawn or they haven't drawn it. Okay, why are they thinking? So we're just gonna hope for water energy. I mean, it's kind of insane we haven't hit one so far. Can we get a water energy up in here? Let's go! We got a water energy. Okay. So we should be fine. Yeah, do we need to gap it here? We have Garchomp on deck. I guess we don't necessarily need to. We should just be good here. The Porygon-Z actually really threw them off. If they had another Dawn, they could have won. No, they wouldn't have been able to win, actually. We still would have been fine. They could have danced around a wee bit, though. We actually did need to hit that second water energy there. That kind of saved us. What do we have next on deck? Poke communication. also have to take this out here because we can't Cyrus and Cynthia. But yeah, this should just put it away. So yeah, I think that Porygon actually did kind of throw off their game. It's really good against decks that require one type of energy. I just have to hope that I don't have Cynthia, but I only have one card in deck, so they probably are assuming that I have it. Really nothing they can do here, unless they have a potion. Took us forever to get water, and then we got tons of water. And it saved the day. That'll do it. All right, let's get some charged up energy on, eh? Looks like we're going second. We hit our Shinx. Typically I like to hit Magnemite or Rotom first, but Shinx is not bad against a Ruddigan. Looks like they're playing fighting energy, so I wonder if they have like a Gallade deck or something like that. Oh, it looks like it's probably Garchomp. So our Luxray line is going to be really good against this. We also hit Rotom. Could throw this in. I think I'm just going to build up the Luxray and try to go take out this Garchomp before it gets built, since we have the line. Probably not going to attack with the Luxio in case they have their line as well too. They might not have their line though. I think we just save on the hit. We'd both be doing 40 damage to each other. I would rather just one shot with the Luxray because we have Volkner as well. I mean, honestly, we're just in basically winning position right now. They might try to retreat here. Get our Sucking, Luxray. I think we're just about good here. We're just going to attack the backline Druddigan so we don't take the damage. But we should just be winning now. Doesn't look like they have fire or water energy, so I don't think they'll be able to attack at all. Yeah, Luxray's just really good against Ruddigan, just because we can attack the back line with no problem. And unless we don't hit the Volkner... Oh, the game's just over. I was just gonna say probably attack with the Rotom there, just so it'll be a little bit quicker. Quick win though. We'll probably have another game with this deck. That was super quick, but just a good showing of how well this does against Druddigan. Right, another match. Hopefully this one will be a little bit more extended. Starting off with our Shinx, we have our Luxio as well. Definitely prefer when we don't start off with our Shinx, but starting off with Shinx is fine. We hit a Rotom as well. I'm actually not sure how high ability works with Darkrai's attack. I'm assuming it still does damage, but I'm not positive. I kind of want to test it out, but I also kind of don't want to die. They put on Giant Cape as well, so I'll probably put Rotom in. And then we'll probably put Luxio on this back one. I think we can communicate right now. We don't necessarily need the Magneton, since we don't have our Magnemite. And we get our other Magneton. We'll just research as well. I wonder if I should maybe research first. Hopefully this hits I think this always hits Magnemite, right? Yeah. I think maybe it makes more sense to research first, actually. We'll just hide here, and that'll just allow us to retreat as well. Let's see how this works, though. I'm kind of interested about this interaction. I feel like most abilities go through Dugtrio's attack, so I think this will go through. Yeah. They're doing some communication of their own, though. They could just Cyrus this and take it out next turn. Kind of assuming they will do that. They're Luxio though, which adds 30. So now they would need to add the attack on it. I feel like they'll probably just take out our Rotom here. Vito Luxray will be surprising them a little bit, which will be nice. I think we put in our weaker Luxray, or our weaker Luxio, I mean. Go for the Luxray. There we go, we got it. Be able to surprise them here with the energy. And then that's gonna put us up. We'll just be able to take out their Druddigan next turn. I don't think they'll be able to do anything against that. Yeah, Luxray's really good against Darkrai just because it requires a lot of energy to attack. And I can attack whoever I want. Have no issue. Let's just do this. Bing bam, fast. No volt charge needed. So yeah, most people don't really expect that Volkner surprise recharge. They're like assuming I haven't discarded anything yet, but that energy counts on the Pokemon that we're taking out, which is great.